What is going on, everyone? It's Phil. It's Malachi with Mastercrafted. We are back to give you a breakdown of Thousand Suns, and I have brought on what I to be considered one of the best Thousand Sun players in the country. He is awfully confident, especially if it's into Tau, and I got the pleasure of playing with him this past weekend. Everyone, please say hello and congratulations to Malachi Fowler, finishing first overall at ATC and also going undefeated. Yeah, Malachi, thanks for coming on, bud.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate the introduction.
So Malachi, you took Thousand Suns this past weekend at ATC. You were gracious enough to invite me out to come and play, and we played 5 fantastic rounds of 40k, and everyone had a blast. But at the end of the day, you took Thousand Suns and you went undefeated. So I know, you could talk about this a lot. Your list is obviously very, very good. We'll go over that shortly. And then the game plan after that is we really want to break down Thousand Suns as a faction as a whole, because there's going to be a lot of tools Thousand Suns have in the new edition that are going to
Yeah.
make them shine probably above the rest, which is, Malachi, good for you because you happen to play Thousand Suns kind of exclusively.
Yeah. I've been on Thousand Suns for all of 10th edition. I'm probably going to ride it out for most of 11th. We're in a really good spot right now. Nerfs are for sure coming because it's a little too strong. But even once we get hit with the nerfs, we're still going to be flying high. We have a lot of very strong things that we can do in 11th.
Fantastic. So let's get right into it. We don't want to waste anyone's time. We're going to go right over to your list. I'll have you run through it and I'll pull it up here so everyone can follow along at home. But it is 2,000 points. It's Taken Hold. It's Hexwork and Secretary robots. Malachi, tell me about this list.
Yeah. So what we're doing here is we're really just abusing the new detachment point system that we have in 11th, with being able to take 2 or sometimes even 3 detachments, like you did with your Death Guard list that we ran at ATC. There are some really broken combinations throughout the game. Honestly, this is probably the most busted of anything that any army can do right now, which is taking the 2-point detachment Hexwork Thrallband with the 1-point detachment Sekitar Cohort. In this case, what we're getting the benefit of is Sekitar Cohort gives our Sekitar robots psychic on all their weapons, and Hexwork Thrallband gives us +1 to wound on all psychic weapons, so long as we're in our zone of magic, and otherwise we're getting reroll wound rolls of 1. That obviously makes them very strong. Having just +1 to wound on a full thing is very good, and then you get all the other buffs of being a Thousand Suns model, which is that we essentially have Oath of Moment so long as we cast our spell. We get +2 AP, which for the robots is putting their fucking meltas to AP 6, which is just going to go through literally anything in the game. Now that cover saves don't exist, AP 6 just kind of like wins you the game on the spot if you see a Land Raider. So that's the main thing we're taking advantage of here. The combination gives them a lot of big strengths, but the list is 12 of those guys, 12 robots, 20 Scarab Occult Terminators with leaders, Ahriman, who's really a tech piece, which I'll get more into in a second. Then we have an Exalted Disc Sork, who's another tech piece with the enhancement he takes. He's able to revive robots at the start or end of his movement phase. So you can do like some really cheeky things and be 21 inches away from your robots, move them 8 inches towards you, move the guy 10 inches towards them, be within 3, and suddenly you're reviving robots. So like you don't even need to keep him near them, but you could, because the enhancement also gives him lone op when he's near the robot. And then to back up the list, we have a sorcerer with Empiric Onslaught, which comes out of the Hexwork Thrallband detachment, which just gives him +3 attacks on his psychic weapons. But the sorcerer in Thousand Suns is probably like our strongest character that we could take multiples of, because once a game he gets angry, he goes to strength 8 on his gun and 9 attacks, and he has always sustained hits 3. So with the fact that we have access to Oath of Moment with our spellbook, we are able to just sit there and fish for sustained hits, and that guy will generate something like 26 hits on average through full hit rerolls, which is very good, especially when you're then going, I'm strength 8 and I have +1 to wound. You're just going to hand a lot of wounds to a lot of things. With him in particular, in one of my games against Tau, he full killed 3 missile broadsides just by himself with a Doom Bolt. And obviously, that's quite strong. And then to back up the rest of the list, there's like 3 trash units. It's like 2 sets of bow goats, 1 set of spear goats. And those guys are just there because having trash is good. And we have the points for it.
Yeah. I mean, Malachi, it's a very solid list. It kills everything, and it's got the disposition that it wants and Taking Hold, where it's not having to trade necessarily for actions. It's not having to do anything else besides murder things on objectives, be on objectives with free Overwatch and +1 to wound
Yeah.
potentially, and
Yep.
ignore modifiers, right? Like you have a very efficient way to maintain scoring in Taken Hold, and that is something that you are very good at with durable assets, being the Scarab Called Terminators, and very obviously lethal assets, including them as well.
Yeah. It's definitely a list that wants to be playing Take and Hold or Purge the Foe. Obviously, it has access to Take and Hold, so we'd be playing that. There's a world where you could try to run it on priority assets. There's a really cute stratagem in the Sekitar cohort detachment that for 1 CP, the robots can action and shoot, which like isn't nothing. You know, it could come up if you were playing priority assets, and there's probably a world in which you could do that. But when you can play Take and Hold, there's just kind of no reason not to. Take and Hold, I've been saying it is the equivalent to just playing 10th edition with some new rules. All of the Take and Hold missions are missions we're used to. So if you can take a list that we're kind of used to with 20 Terminators instead of 30, add more killing power to it, and honestly more staying power because the robots are just as tanky as 10 Terminators and cost about the same when you add them all up. You're just kind of playing a better 10th edition game and abusing all of these new rules in 11th.
Yeah, all of those things make sense, right? Why we're playing this dispo, why we're doing these things. Scarab Cult Terminators were the pride and joy of Thousand Suns in 10th
Yeah,
edition, and I don't think they're leaving anytime soon. Now,
yeah, definitely not.
all of those things are great, but let's look forward, Malachi. We can't guess at what Games Workshop's going to do to balance Thousand Suns because right now we don't know. But what we do know is the tools that Thousand Suns have as a whole. So what do you think are some of the tools besides Sexar robots? Obviously, they're very, very good. Scarabacol Terminators, very, very good. What do you think are the dispositions slash detachments that also have a place that people could potentially look at going forward if they weren't able to run something like this, or they're preparing for the future and hey, I just want a little bit of variety in my T sub.
Yeah. So the unfortunate thing is that if you're looking for variety in Thousand Suns, you are not going to get it. All of our units are very expensive, especially when you start comparing them to units in other factions that are similar. Like if you go compare our Scarab Occult Terminators to other Chaos Terminators, or if you compare our Rubric Marines to other Marine type Terminators in the different Chaos factions, like you're just kind of spending more than everyone else. And the reason why is Thousand Suns are a toolbox of everything you could possibly need to play the game. We are fast when we need to be because of Temporal Surge. We are incredibly lethal when we need to be because of all the reroll potential, right? We get reroll hits for a spell. Rubric Marines have reroll wound rolls of 1 if you're on an objective, which now everyone pretty much always is because
Yep.
of the new way that objectives are, with just being buildings. I'm going to have full wound rerolls. So, like, I have all the lethality in the world. I have Doombolt for extra lethality. And then the biggest thing really is still having access to +2 AP against something is huge in a world without cover saves. Armor of Contempt has always been like dangerous for Thousand Suns because in 10th edition, you have Armor of Contempt, you'd be in cover, and suddenly my +2 AP is just totally negated. And all my AP1 and AP2 stuff just isn't that strong in tier 2 up save. But now that people can't just have cover to give them an extra bonus to their save, suddenly, yeah, I'm going to AP4 on my bolters and you're popping Armor of Contempt, but my bolters are still AP3 and you're saving on 5s, you know, at best. So having access to all of these things means our units, you know, kind of have to be more expensive because they're so lethal. So you really have to find a good balance between trading. And going forward, we're really just going to see more Scarab Occult Terminators because they're incredibly tanky. They're really hard for most armies to shift. They shit out a ton of damage because they have lethal hits on everything and they're base AP2. And it's like 58 shots a unit or something if I'm in rapid fire range. Like they will just wear you down with volume. So we're still going to be seeing those guys. Ahriman giving us a redeploy as his main ability. We're still going to see him in most lists. Like essentially, if you bring something that infiltrates, you're going to bring Ahriman because being able to redeploy your infiltrates or aggressively infiltrate and then redeploy it somewhere safe is just very strong in the game. And then the Sekitar robots, they're going to be gone. Whether they just nerf the points so that we can't, you know, justify bringing them anymore, or whether they do something like upping the detachment point cost for Hexwarp Thrallband up to 3, so we can't take this broken combo, or if they add Sectar keyword to Hexwarp Thrallband, so you can't take both. You know, GW has written in a lot of ways that they can nerf things now. So it's no longer just going, oh, well, if the points go up, I'll find something to cut. It's now, well, they're probably not going to put the points up. They're probably going to find ways to stop players from taking the absolute most busted combos they can. And that means that we're going to have to get really creative with how we try to use things and use different detachments. and see what happens next.
Yeah, and some of those creative things, we've talked about this before, Malachi, in terms of Thousand Suns, and you're right, they do have a lot of those tools. When you have additional mobility in the game of 11th edition, that is absolutely huge. When we talk about movement, out of phase movement, which is one of the unique things that T Suns do have, it allows you to get around things. Not necessarily so much anymore, but it is still very, very good overall. Now, I am curious if we're looking going forward. You said Ahriman, and we've talked about this at length. Ahriman being so critically important for the redeploys. I don't see that going away no matter what version of T Suns that you're playing. You are gonna want some kind of infiltrate, you're gonna want some kind of screen. Do you think Ahriman is the one unit that you would staple on almost at all times if you're running Thousand Suns?
Yeah, yes, only in that I wouldn't run Thousand Suns without something that has infiltrate. Like the robots have infiltrate naturally, which is great because like in most lists you're still taking at least like 2x2 because they're 80 points. They're very efficient chaff pieces because of the free Overwatch, because of the free heroic, just because of the weapons that they get to bring. So having Ahriman in like two sets of those kind of seems like a good thing to always do. You're spending 260 points on it. Pretty much no matter what you're in, you're probably going to bring that unless they start pointing up the robots. But if you do that, we go and we fall back on Rubric Phalanx, which is the detachment that we were all running at the end of 10th edition with 30 Terminators. And in there, you take an enhancement to give 10 Terminators infiltrate. And you're going to do that, and you're going to bring Ahriman so that you can deploy them in front of someone, and then they have to go, oh no, what if this guy's crazy and he decides to leave them here, and then he goes first, and I lose the game. So they'll deploy based around that, and then you'll pick them up, and they'll go in some corner somewhere. Maybe they'll sit in your expansion and have lone op and just have a good day. So you're pretty much always going to bring it. Even if you go to playing Grand Coven, which I strongly recommend you don't, you would probably still bring two sets of robots, in which case you would still bring Ahriman to redeploy them. Ahriman pretty much feels like a staple right now, especially at 100 points, because he gives you the redeploy, which is good in and of itself. And then he's like a cheap little dude that's going to run 10 inches through a wall, push a button, shoot his gun, cast a spell, do whatever. He has +1 to cast, which is like sometimes relevant because you'll have game plans into like Gladius or Blades of Ultramar. I actually don't know which one they're playing these days, where your whole game plan relies on you getting +2 AP. Like if I'm going to shoot Victrix Guard, I need +2 AP to do it so that they die. And Ahriman is kind of like the only way outside of Grand Coven that you have to guarantee that you'll get there because of the +1. In Grand Coven, I can just spend 1 CP and re-roll my spell. But outside of that, you kind of need Ahriman's +1. So he just kind of has all the tools that we're looking for in something that costs 100 points. He doesn't really deal damage, but that's fine. But he kind of does deal damage. He has 5 attacks in melee at like 713 or something, where like if he gets one through, he'll finish off something that's really hurt. His gun is okay. It's like D6 +1 shots, D3 damage. So like he can kind of chip things away or like just be around at the end of the game to score something. The only real worry that you ever have with bringing him is that you kind of are just giving up Assassinate for free. He doesn't have Lone Up. There's no real trick to try to save him. He's just 6 wounds with a 4-up invul. So, like, when you bring him out to cast that spell, hopefully that spell works and you kill that thing and the game is kind of over because they are scoring Assassinate for sure the moment they have it. And with being able to hold secondaries now, you just kind of have to accept that you have given them a free 5 points at the start of the game.
Yeah, very well said. Ahriman does feel like that dude overall. And honestly, to be fair, you need efficiency because if you don't get your spells off, if you run into the situation where you desperately need that +2 AP and you don't get it, like that's going to feel so much worse. And in terms of the ways Thousand Suns lose, it's not very many now, but if you don't get your spells off at the critical times, you're going to put yourself in a position where you're not going to be effective on your quote unquote go turn. And you may just die in return.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, for what it's worth, the only spell that is ever actually critical to casting is Temporal Surge. If your game plan is relying on you getting extra AP or relying on Doombolt or relying on rerolls, it is possible to fail those things and then just have the dice go your way anyways and kill something. This past weekend at ATC against my Marine player, I had gotten 10 Terminators to see the Victrix Guard and shoot them. I cast Oath. I got Big Oath. I was like, this is great. I cast AP and I did not get any extra AP. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to kill these guys now. And that's very bad for me. And this game is not going to go my way. Unfortunately for that player, he simply rolled 1s and 2s for all of his saves. And he lost to the entire brick. And it's like, well, I got super lucky. But that can just happen. And obviously getting your spells is good. The only spell that if it doesn't go off, you have no chance to fix the mistake by having dice go your way is Temporal Surge. So I would always urge Thousand Suns players to build your plans and try to build plans where Temporal Surge isn't the thing that wins you the game. It should always be the thing that helps. I'll Temporal Surge onto this objective. It'll be great. Or I'll move over here just to get extra movement. It'll be great. But there are very real worlds where even Ahriman with his +1 looks at something, rolls double ones, and you go, well, I guess I have to push. And you roll another one, and you go, well, I guess I'm not moving. And Ahriman took 3 mortals, and this sucks. And that happens. But if that happens and now your go turn isn't even a turn at all, and you just pass after that because you didn't get your Terminators to where they needed to be, or you didn't get your robots or your rubrics or whatever, you're just kind of losing the game. So I always try to urge people, don't build your game plan around Temporal Surge working, because it's the only one that if it fails, your game plan is over.
Yeah. And honestly, makes complete sense to me. So as we go forward, as we look into 11th edition, I want to bring something up because it's something that myself and Lane have talked about at length about 11th edition. Malachi, you and I have talked about it when we were getting ready for this tournament, is how the dispositions have felt in terms of competition, in terms of primary and secondary scoring, and looking overall at your scoring in general. You were in a position where obviously you scored very well. You scored overall the best out of all players. And, there's some fantastic names on
Yeah,
this list. If we
yeah,
look
you
at
can
the
leave
runners
this
up,
up for a little bit. Just let it sink in that I'm better than all these players below me. This is a call out to all these players. None of you could beat me. It wouldn't even be close. Look at my scores. Look at your scores. I'm the best. But no, actually, I know most of these guys. I talk with these guys. They're all very, very good players. I'm very honored to be amongst them for this first 11th edition tournament. Obviously, my path to victory here is a bit weaker, less competition than Folger, who had to play multiple very strong teams and still performed as well. We had some teams that we were able to kind of just run through, but we did play some tough teams. I played some tough matchups. Really, my scores are more of an indication of people misunderstanding what Thousand Suns are up to, rather than any super strong performance outside of it.
yeah, absolutely. Now, with 11th edition, and obviously we're seeing some scores here from players that are consistent, but 11th edition scoring has drastically changed how I think I evaluate the game, right? In terms of how easy it is to score later in the game, how easy it is to score secondaries, how easy it is to score primaries, and how easy it is to max primaries. There have been multiple games where I've maxed primaries by turn 3, and that is insane. That should not be happening in a game because it means that I can do things differently as the late game goes, of not necessarily giving up certain assets and literally walking myself off objectives because it's well, there's no point in me being here anymore. I'm going to max no matter what. And there's really nothing you could do about it, and I'm not going to give up another asset to trade for you to give you a way back into this game. What are your initial interpretations of 11th edition and T-Suns? Where do you think obviously they're a very good faction. Where do you think they excel? Is there any dispos that you would look at going forward that aren't just taking hold?
Yeah, so 11th edition, it's very clear that GW wants to make games closer and not as reliant on, my faction beats your faction. A lot of 10th was a bit of a game of rock, paper, scissors most of the time, and sometimes rock would just be the strongest thing in the world. 10th edition Eldar at launch, for instance. And then Necrons in the summer or in the winter of 2024. Every once in a while, we'd have something that was very strong in 10th and it would beat everything. But for the most part, it was this beats this, this beats this, this beats this. And we just kind of go in a circle because we're all playing the same mission. So for 11th, it's very clear that their goal is to allow anything to win a game, so long as you are playing for your primary and playing to deny their primary. So honestly, when you are looking at this list of players who have scored these 20s and these bigger scores, these top 5, top 6, top 7 scoring players at this event, these are all the players that very clearly looked at their games and figured out not how do I score, but how do I stop my opponent from scoring. And for Thousand Suns, it is an army that is very good at doing that. It is very easy, specifically on Take and Hold, to score my own points. And then the difficult thing for Take and Hold armies is how do I stop my opponent from scoring theirs? Because most dispositions into Take and Hold have very easy scoring. Recon, for instance, is just playing engage on all fronts. So you just keep throwing units into the corners, and if they die, they die. You score at the end of your turn, it doesn't matter. The Take and Hold mirror is just linchpin. So welcome back to 10th edition. Purge the foes, they kill you while you're on objectives. While take and hold is I want to be on objectives. So like they've really set it up nice and easy. The disruption one is also ridiculous. It's like, oh, I run over here and I push a button on this building and I've scored 6 points. And it's like, oh, cool. Can't stop that. Can't interact in any way. So 11th is obviously trying to keep games like super, super close, which for teams is difficult. And that means that because I'm a teams player, when we're looking at what do we do, how do we score diff, we're looking at what armies can score their own primary super easy and then push super hard and take people off of their own primary, prevent them from doing their own thing. And as you can see, this top list is me on take and hold, Folder on take and hold, a purge the foe, a purge the foe. I believe that Space Wolves list is also take and hold. And then we get to some recon players, but we don't really need to talk about them. It is like very difficult for armies like Disruption, armies like Recon, armies like Priority Assets to score these really big scores because everyone else is just scoring more points too. So we really have to look at that. And then when we go to looking at Thousand Suns realistically can play any of the 5 dispositions. We are fast enough to play Disruption if we build for it. We are sturdy enough to play Take and Hold if we build for it. We're killy enough to play Purge of Foe if we build for it. We're good enough to play Recon, which is kind of like a jack of all trades thing, have some OC stuff, like do whatever if we build for it. And we're strong enough to play Priority Assets because like that's Priority Assets is very weak. Anyone can play Priority, I think. It is not a disposition that is hard to build for. You just kind of build and you kind of score and you kind of stop your opponent from scoring. It's definitely the weakest of the ones. So when we're looking at Thousand Suns, we're looking less at, hey, what disposition does my army want to play? Because we are a toolbox. We have everything we need to play whatever we want. So it's what is the thing that my army can do the best? Right now, it is that we can be super fast and super lethal. Okay, well, which dispositions are letting me do that? Okay, well, take and hold, I'll score for free, so I'll stop them from scoring, and that's how I'll win games. I don't need to max my primary to win a game. I obviously do if I want to 20 someone, but like realistically, I just have to make sure that they're not scoring their max primary because it's so easy to score take and hold in rounds 4 and 5 that I'll probably score a 30 between those two on primary. So if I pick up like 5 or 6 points in between on rounds 1, 2, and 3, and I'm denying them their primary every turn or every other turn, I'm just going to win the game because it's just the basic math. So yeah, when we're looking, that's kind of what we want to be looking at going forward, especially knowing that nerfs are coming to what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely fair. And I think, as the meta continues to develop and shape around us, like that is the kind of stuff that's going to make the difference is how you actually go about playing your army with your attachments into the certain dispositions and how those matchups look going forward. Now, what everyone really is going to want to know, peek behind the curtain. How do you beat Thousand Suns? If they're this meta defining dominant boogeyman, we're going to have to deal with them until GW nerfs them, which if they're to be believed, if GW is to be believed, they will get touched by something in a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we will have to deal with them for a month.
Look, for the next month, you should practice at home. Don't go to any tournaments I'm going to. You're just going to lose. Like, it's very strong. It's really hard to beat. A lot of the top players around the world and on Team USA and even on this list all believe that Tau will beat this list. They believe that Tau is strong enough that it should win. Now, I don't know if you want to go over my scores, but I got a 20, a 16, and an 18 into Tau in a row and kind of proved them wrong. It was something that in 10th edition I was doing a lot of, where again in teams, people thought, Tau, they have a lot of damage 3 and damage 4 guns. They're going to kill 30 Terminators. And unfortunately, they didn't count how many shots they have. And the answer is not enough shots. Yeah. Is this our first round? Oh no, this is round 4.
This is round 4.
Yeah, I played Tau rounds 1, 2, and 3. I played
1, 2, and 3. Okay, we'll do that real quick. Let's take a look here.
Yeah, so this first one into Matt's Tau here, again, a 20. The next one was a 16 into another Tau list, and the one after that was an 18 into another Tau list. In my opinion, it's a really bad matchup for Tau. In all of their opinions, they think it's really good, and I got lucky. So I don't know who you want to believe, but I have a lot of evidence. Phil, you and I, our first game, you were on Tau, and I was on T-Suns, and I don't know if you want to tell the people how that game went, but
it was 15-5, and I was scraping for those 5.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting matchup. I think, as someone who's seen you play it multiple times and played into it, like, I get why they think it's a good matchup. I have 20 Thousand Suns players with Tau. multiple times. There is a difference in terms of how you can play it, how you should play it in the play lines. And those play lines are probably tighter because it's very easy to make a mistake with one of those Scarecrow Terminator bricks and you potentially lose the whole thing. But obviously you have become so comfortable with the faction that, even what is quote unquote a red matchup, but for you, because you understand the lines, you've played that matchup enough times that it actually isn't, right? Like you have come to a place where you've turned a matchup like that now. The only option is we got to get Durante and you and
Look,
get you in the game.
Look, to be fair, Durante said he doesn't want the smoke. All right. And this is a call out. Durante, if you see this, hit me up on Discord. We'll play a game. All right. I'll fly to you. Okay. Because I don't play TTS. I'll fly to you. We'll play a game and we'll see who's right. But yes, realistically, it is a big part of it is a skill thing. I know exactly where my models need to go. I know the math very well on what will be killing me and what won't be. I know what to target. It's definitely just like repetitions are the biggest thing. And to be honest, that's been Thousand Suns for all of 10th edition, even when they were at their height. When they were at their height, it was still players like me, TJ Lanigan, Dan Morello, who were like crushing. And then all the other players were going X and 1, X and 2, and were scary, but like they could be beaten. And the biggest thing is T-Suns just requires this level of precision and skill expression in the game that if you are not practicing, if you are not like really understanding the math of your own units, the math of other units, you just aren't going to perform as well, even though you're on something that clearly everyone can see is quite incredibly busted with the robots as they are now.
Yeah. So we'll wrap all this up because there's a lot of different ways Malachi and I can talk about 40K for a long time. But the thing I want to break down for all our viewers at home is obviously there's some units that are good. Robots are very, very good right now. Scarecrow Terminators are very, very good right now. When you make them psychic weapons and they're able to ignore modifiers, which is now the benefit of having cover, that is now gone. They used to be potentially, they didn't necessarily have a lot of strip cover. They relied on their AP to get around it. But now the benefit of having psychic weapons and also ignoring the -1 to hit modifier and also full rerolls or reroll ones, which is incredibly nice. And then the efficiency on the other side for the Terminators for reroll ones to wound means that they're an army right now that ignores a lot of the things that the rest of us have to put in points to commit to get around, whether it be Space Marines paying for incursors, whether it be stratagems for stripping cover, right? Like all of these things are other armies have to play around. You right now don't necessarily have to play around it because it's built into it. So obviously Secretary robots are good. Obviously Scarecrow Terminators are good. And I still think there's going to be a place for them, whatever happens after, the first set of nerfs. And based on, this is just Phil speaking, but based on how quickly they're going to try to do these, is I don't expect them to hit something very hard. Because the window is shorter, I expect them to attack them in small pieces. Maybe it's substantial changes like it's not substantial changes like points increases, or maybe doing an incremental increase on the secateurs, right? So now they cost more when you're going to take the third unit of 4. So all of those things could happen. Do not let that stop you from hobbying because I think, I think I think you're just going to build what's good. I think at any point, infiltrating robots will still be good. Are you going to take 12 of them? Probably not. You'll still take Terminators because they will still be good. Their rules are good. They are solid in this edition. Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting overall. But Malachi proves, whether it be 10th edition or 11th edition, that if you are a faction specialist and you practice and you understand the math and you understand the lines and you've played enough reps with the army, you can be consistently at the top as long as you are committed to getting better. So, Malachi, obviously it shows you played an incredible start to 11th edition. There's only one place to go from here. It's completely down. So
No. No, I can go up. I only scored 93 out of 100 points. I could score 7 more.
Okay, all right. So you got a 7-point window to
Yeah.
either
I
go
could go
up
up. I could go up.
Well, I wish you all the luck. Malachi, do you have anything, last notes, shout outs, anything you'd like to say to the folks at home?
The biggest thing is, firstly, Phil, thank you for coming to ATC with me. You filled a very nice spot on our team, performed very well. It was a blast having you out there. It went way better than when I came out to Wyoming to play with you, which was a terrible experience for those who know of it. And for those who don't, you never will, because we're not going to talk about it again. But that's pretty much it. You guys are going to be seeing a lot more of me throughout 11th edition, I'm sure, as I continue to just crush tournaments. And hopefully I'll still be on Thousand Suns the whole time, unless GW decides that they hate me for good.
Well, if anything, there are bigger boogeymen in the meta right now, although top 1,000 Suns are very good. Necrons.
Yeah.
Like some of these factions need a little bit of love. So hopefully GW does that. Hopefully you at home are practicing and getting your reps in with 11th edition. Hopefully you've learned something from Malachi. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you want to talk about T-Suns, make sure you hit us up in the Discord. Make sure you hit us up in the comments. Make sure you hit us up wherever. I talk about 40K all the time. I know Malachi's in there and he loves talking about 40K. It is how we get better and we get better as a community. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Malachi, thank you so much for coming on. And do not forget, victory isn't given, it's forged. And it's forged right here on Mastercrafted.